forging of souls. Whatever that meant. Often, I find myself having the same dream over and over again. But it's not just the same dream. It is sometimes a continuation of the story. That is what happened with this dream, the forging of souls. It all started where I was caught in the middle of a game, betting, chancing at this big gambling site. Everything was really bright, whatnot. And I lost big time, and I didn't have all the funds to pay up. So they arrested me. They took me, and they threw me into prison through a gate in the ceiling. I was falling down, didn't know where I was going to end up, and I fell into 3 feet of water. This whole prison was flooded with 3 feet of dirty, nasty water. It's gross. And I didn't know what was going on. I went around the perimeter of the whole place, talking to different people, trying to figure out what's going on. Found that they made a little island so they could at least stay out of the water that's just a little bit above it, out of just loose dirt or other things that they just piled up so that they could stay out of the water. Near the end, some guards that looked menacing and different came out through this one gated hallway. Came out and grabbed someone that has died during the day, but also grabbed someone living, and they left. And they never came back. I woke up. I was like, oh man, that was a weird dream. Guess I should never gamble. Either way, next night, I was back in the dream. I woke on that little island that was created by the inmates. I start asking around, what's going on? Why do people go down that hallway? Where do they go? Do they ever come back? And everyone says, no, they never do. And the only 2 ways out of this place is if you die or you're taken down that hallway. That's it. Those are the only 2 ways. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? And this time I was there for a while. I witnessed at least 3 people taken, 3 living people, not just the people that died, the dead bodies, 3 living people. So I start trying to find people to talk to find out what is going on with this prison. And start trying to make a game plan to get out of here, because obviously I don't want to leave the only 2 ways. And I find the oldest prisoner. And then I wake up. So I didn't find anything else I really knew that night. Next night I fell asleep. And once again woke up on the island. Continuation of the story, I find that while I was asleep, I was lucky not to be taken, because the amount of inmates has decreased rapidly. So I went and found that old man again, and found out that there's something in this world called the forging of souls, where they take the dead bodies to use for materials, whatever that meant, but they take the living because they still have a living soul. You see, in this world, they found a way to be able to take a soul and forge it to something else, so that something else is partially living and could have some form of magical or advanced properties, but also could be controlled. Once the soul was forged away from the body it was contained in, it was no longer their soul. It was taken and is now used as a tool. I was like, okay, I don't want this to happen to me. What is going on? I need to avoid this. I wake up. Great. I don't know how this story's going to end. Great, oh no. Then I fell back asleep. And guess what? Only 2 people left in this whole prison now. It was me and the old man. We just saw the last body and the last person taken out. I was like, great, what are we going to do? There's no way we can get out of this. I don't know what's going on behind those doors, but all I know is that I don't want to go in there. Somehow I've been able to avoid it thus far. And I found out that they liked taking the ones that survived the longest, because they have the stronger soul, and the stronger souls tend to make stronger tools of some sort. The old man, after the guard left, knowing that we had at least a day before they came back, pulled me aside and said, I'm old. I'm not going to survive this. I've been in this prison for years, and I've been able to learn something. He pulled out from behind his back a very long 2-pronged fork. It's about at least 3 feet long. It's very, very long. I don't know where he found it, but he found it somewhere, and he's been hiding it. And he gave it to me and said, forge my soul into that. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't even know how the process goes. And so he grabs it from me and stabs himself with it, with the prong ends, right above the heart. He pulls it out and he starts bleeding out very quickly. And then he hands it back to me. And he's clutching something else in his hand. I'm not sure what the other thing was. And he handed it back to me and he says, charge that before I die and my soul will transfer. Okay? Charge it before I die and do it before the guards notice anything. So I turn around and near the gated door, there was an electrical panel. Now, it wasn't very useful, this electrical panel. It just had a couple fuse boxes for the lights going down the hallway. Either way, I run over there, open it up. I'm just like, are you sure? Like, is this safe? And he's like, do it before I die. And so I jam the 2 prongs into the electrical system and let go really quickly so I don't get electrocuted. And it starts glowing red hot. The lights start flickering down the hallways and the guards notice. But I also notice that not only did the fork start glowing red hot, so did the guy. And he's screaming. Eventually, both the fork fell down out of the electrical box, and so the guy falling over. The guy looked like he was charred, as if he was electrocuted and burned. He wasn't breathing anymore. Well, the guards noticed, the lights went out, and so they come charging down the hallway. And I don't know what to do, because I'm the last one standing now. So I reach down and start fishing in the water to try and find a long 2-pronged fork, because it's the only thing I have. And I grab it right before the guards come through, 2 of them. I lift it up, and I swing it towards them, as if it's a sword. Silly of me. It has no sharp edge, but I had nothing else. So I'm swinging it. As I'm swinging it, it goes into red, hot liquid format, as if it was molten metal. And it reshapes itself into a sharp edge sword. And keeping the same temperature, but not burning my hand. And as I swung it towards, I was able to cut off one of the guard's arms almost instantaneously. As the guard's arm fell off, I noticed it was made of clay. This guard was a forged soul soldier. He was made from clay, and his soul was forged into the clay to make a big, beefy, strong soldier. And since he was made of clay, if he was ever attacked, harmed, or anything, he could just reshape it, bring it back, or pick up his pieces. And it's great. I just cut off his arm, but he can just pick up his arm. But my sword, at this point, was hot. It baked the clay, making it so it was no longer useful for him. He couldn't reclaim his arm. And in fact, that part of his arm was damaged. I swung again and crumbled this golem, this soldier. The other soldier's looking at me horrified. And he's like, how did you learn to forge souls? Not even answering, I just swing my sword at him and I start charging down the hallway to get out of there. Not knowing 100% what's going on. All I know is that I have that old man to thank as I escape down the hallway and find a way out. And then I wake up. Unfortunately, that was the last of that recurring dream. Maybe one day I'll be able to dive back into that world and figure out what happens. But as of now, I have no idea. Tell me what you think happens in the comments, or where you think the story could go. It's always fun to explore things like this in my mind, what could have happened. But, as far as I know, the dream ended with me just escaping with the old man's soul sword in my hand. Anyway, like, subscribe, leave comments of where you think the story could go, or where you think it should go, because it's an open-ended book at this point. And then, as always, sweet dreams.